We have some special guests today,
And
and
everyone.
they've had quite a time of it in the last few days. Mareile and Isabella talking to us from the Miracle of Palmela, as it is known. You've had a difficult week, haven't you there? Thank you so much for joining us this week. Mareile, welcome. Thanks for joining us, Happy Homesteaders and Get Out and Growers today. How are you after what happened last week?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for reaching out and inviting us. That came unexpected, but very, very welcome, because we really feel like now is the time to talk about what happened. So it probably hasn't traveled that far outside of Portugal, but we had a pretty devastating forest fire last week in Palmela, which is about 30 minutes south of Lisbon in the Setúbal region. And it was laid by arson, unfortunately, tragically, and burned down over 400 hectares of pristine natural forest in the Arabida Nature Park. And amongst that was our food forest and that of our dear neighbors. And Isabella and her husband are part of our project. They have a pilot project on regenerative agriculture and food forestry. And yeah, we've spent a week in stress and hectic and restoration and, mobilizing people, forces, trying to recover from the shock, really.
Yeah, I'm sure. We're so sorry to hear about what happened, and we're going to do our best to help you today. We put the GoFundMe link in. John, Anna, Lee, and myself will have a few questions for you, but I want to share the pictures, if I may, that you have on your GoFundMe.com/a Miracle of Palmela Fire Relief Help, if people do want to help, or even have a look at some of those pictures while we're talking this evening. Is this the right link for you as well? Good evening to you, Isabella.
Yes, good evening. Hi.
Okay.
Yes, that's
all right. It's wonderful what you're doing. You've got a YouTube channel and you've got the Instagram account here where people can look at what you're doing. And I suppose the regenerative work you're doing has gone into I can't remember the word you just used, Mareile, but you've gone into you've had to step backwards before you go forwards into the regeneration or renovation. I think that was the word you used. So it's gone from restoration, and then we can go back to some regeneration, because that's the spirit of the work here, isn't it? And if I can show some photographs of what you've been amazed. I'm amazed with how beautiful. Well, I shouldn't be, really. I mean, this is a scene. That you could think was in central Portugal. It happens to be in the Arabida National Park, which I'm a huge fan of. And that's what, 10 days ago, a week ago, it would have looked a little bit like that.
Yeah, the fire was on Wednesday, so that's just before.
Wow. Okay, and then that's an aerial view from your drone, and that's looking pretty lovely. I think you've cleared quite a large area of land to make this possible. How much hard work went into that bit?
my husband should be here, and her husband, really, because there is no real road access to the land at all. So everything, all of the 1.2 hectares that have been reforested by hand and brush cut it with a manual roçadora, and I don't know how many tons of earth they were digging out and schlepping down trees and seedlings, and it's been a tremendous amount of physical work over the last 2.5 years when we started.
Absolutely. Well, Lee will, I'm sure, have some sense of the amount of hard work you've put into that. And then, of course, it grew to this. What's the date stamp on that particular one, would you say?
This is 4 weeks after we started the food forest in the bottom part of the land.
Okay, and that's was that a couple of years ago? Do I remember reading?
So this is last year. So basically, last year, this is a funny story, because last year in summer, Isabella and Matthias approached us with Regen Waves and said, we're really looking for a pilot project for a piece of land where we can implement our lab forest. And we gave them the piece of land, and they started planting in the middle of July in Portugal. And we're like, yeah, right, guys, you have a lot of theoretical knowledge, but let's see how that pans out. But those guys are real geeks. Like, they're like scientific to the level that it's fully over my head, and big hard workers. And what you saw right there on that picture before was 4 weeks after they started planting.
Really?
Yeah.
We had cabbages that size. They had
Hold on.
so much.
How big? Sorry, I couldn't see your hands there. Did you say
Yeah, like, fisherman's type
fish and
showing up.
cabbages? Fantastic. Superb.
Cabbages, zucchini, yeah, planting in abundance. It's really
Without a doubt. Look at that. It's so beautiful from the air there. So enough to eat by the look of it there. And the key words here are food forest, permaculture, presumably. And then is this after where there's more growth around to protect that growing area? Is that the sequence?
Yeah, so the central part where it looks a little bit greener, that's the food forest that we started earlier, where we planted 80 fruit trees, and in between, so every 4 meters there's a fruit tree, and in between every fruit tree there is, I don't know, hundreds of bushes and little trees grown from cuttings, from stackage, and from seeds. It's a lot of green, and it grew so fast that it's mind-blowing, especially the willows and the poplars. Literally planted sticks into the earth.
Yes.
You cut a stick, put it in the earth, and it sprouts, and a year later you have a tree that you think, how did that get here?
It's a miracle. It's a miracle, I tell you. Okay, so lovely, just lovely, says Anne McKenzie. Thanks for joining us tonight, Anne. We've also got Fiona. Thought I'd just mess with you all and watch on YouTube evening. All so sorry to hear of yet more fires. Thanks for joining us. So tonight we've got Deagle in from Belfast. High 20s over there. Go steady, mate. Suzanne Derringer over there in the United States. Botard, sorry, I'm tardy. Jason Hall, usually from his Quinta in Portugal, reporting in from sunny Winchester in the UK. Nice and warm for you. OLP, the clue is in the Oregonians there. Hi, Coley, Anna and John. I'll extend that to you, our lovely guests tonight, Isabella and Mareile this evening. Thank you, OLP, for being here. Paul, Louise, Lottie, I think this chimes with what the message you sent me earlier on, Louise, which I'll come back to. Botar Toros, CPL. Who's CPL? I forget now, but Botar Toros. And we'll go back to these amazing pictures now. Okay, so there we are. We've set the scene. A beautiful, idyllic situation. Nice little plunge pool there. Some incredible four weeks of growth there. Cabbages as big as your head. Some more forest food and forest growing here. And an aerial view of the devastation after the fire. Before we say more about that, I think John's got a question. Go on, John.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you have any cameras for filming wildlife and for safety and so on that could also be used for security, and how is it possible to recover the film from those cameras so you can catch these, or help the police catch these very evil people that have set your lovely place on fire?
The arsonist, yeah.
And unfortunately, the arson wasn't laid on our land, actually. It was laid on the other side of the castle of Palmela in a completely different region. And they did catch one of the guys. There were three, from what we know, there were three guys that were they were crazy, with torches, screaming and throwing around gasoline and a big wooden cross. And one of the guys got caught right away by a local who just kept him and said, "You're staying here until the police comes." Two they're still looking for, but yeah, it was the hottest day of the year. It was super windy, and that was a perfect setting for them to do this crime.
Yeah, perfect storm for terrible wildfires. Absolutely. Suzanne saying, yeah, this is really criminal. What a fantastic job you did there. So let's find out more about that and what happened. We have the aerial view there. And then the fire began. And this is one of the most shocking pictures. I think this is where I first found out about what you were doing, Mareile. This is your husband, Mathieu, I think, looking at the fire making its way towards your home. This is last Wednesday, was it?
Yeah, this is last Wednesday. This is Mathieu standing on the edge of our land and just watching it all go up in flames. So we have fringing the land, there's a lot of cañas, giant reeds. And the giant reeds, while they're a beautiful protection from our land against neighbors or whatnot, they're also an invasive species that grows a lot. And of course, that stuff goes up in flames like, matchsticks.
This is
So
the canna, is it? We call it canna as well.
yeah,
It's like bamboo filled with
yes,
flammable
exactly.
material, basically, isn't it? Oil
It's
filled bamboo.
crazy. We have video footage of all this, of this, 15-meter high flames shooting up so much smoke, and then the bomberos, the firemen with the airplanes were coming and dropping there what looked like huge amounts of water, and it just looks like a little trickle that evaporates on the air. It's so devastating. Also, what happened was that the firemen in Palmela ran out of water while the fire was happening. So that was another moment of just pure desperation, where you're there and you have this hope of the firemen are here, maybe they can help, maybe they can save. And then after 15 minutes, 20 minutes, they're like, sorry, we don't have pressure, we don't have water anymore. So that was pretty traumatic. And there was also some political things, like the fire hydrants that are closest to that edge of the village weren't maintained, so they were not working. There was no water coming out.
Dear, oh dear. So, these are the people you were expecting to help, and they're basically saying, sorry, we can't help anymore. We're at the limit of our capacity or beyond it.
Yeah. So the Camera of Palmela has been somewhat helpful. They've tried, but we needed to do a lot of self-mobilization and pressure, and having friends that are connected, that were calling people and say like, hey guys, you got to go and you got to walk around and see what they need and see if they need help. So we had a lot of help was from the scouts. So the Portugal scouts, they came the whole weekend and they were clearing up debris. They were hauling big bags that were really, really awesome, fantastic.
Yes, well, we've heard about this. We've got a great friend of the morning show who's part of the scouting movement, and he said it is part of the infrastructure in Portugal, isn't it? The army, the police, the bomberos, the scouting movement, they all work together, don't they, with the civic chain of emergency responses, I guess. So I'm glad to hear that. So let's have a look. Then we'll go back to Mathieu, looking at what's coming your way. And then what happens after this is this sort of devastation. It reaches your land. Is that your outside kitchen, did you say?
Yes, that's what used to be our outdoor kitchen.
Unbelievable, right? And so by this point, you're evacuated. Well, I guess if you're, did you evacuate? Did you leave the land?
Yeah, Mathieu was actually down on the land until the very, very last minute, where the bomberos were, both Mathieu were down on land trying to empty all the water, that beautiful water tank you saw in the beginning. Yes. We had a hose connected to it so we can empty it, and they were just trying to wet and water as much as possible, 5,000 liters on, we have a little wooden house on the land, on the edges of the land. And the police were yelling and they were trying to like, you have to come down, we're going to get you, So they were really standing there until the last minute. And then all there was left to do was stand on the edge and watch.
Must have been devastating. Yeah. I can feel it now. I mean, how awful is that? And that's you're feeling like that's your life's work there, and it's going up in smoke in front of you, and you're doing your best, and you can't do any more than that. So there was your outdoor kitchen. This is a temporary dwelling, somebody's caravan. Look what happens to a caravan in these conditions. And in the distance there, I mean, you're seeing the sense of devastation in the hillside, right?
Yeah, the whole area got really, really burned.
Incredible. And then another view there, that's with some of your vegetation still almost surviving that. But what a horrible scene that is. And then a long shot. That's your valley, presumably, is it?
This is our neighbor's land. So we have right next to us, there's another lovely Portuguese-Spanish couple that have had their food forest for longer than ours. They have 5 hectares that they've been maintaining. And we actually learned a lot from them because they had a more advanced system and they got hit super hard. I mean, that's basically the view on their land. They had goats, they had animals, they had a lot of really old trees, and that compared to them, we really feel like
really lucky.
Yeah, we got away lucky. Their land.
And how are they? Where have they gone now? What can be done to help them?
They're included in our fundraising campaign. So we decided to, rather than just asking for ourselves, because we have a pretty good international network, and so we decided to pool all of us who got hit by the fires, Matthias and Isabella, us with our land, Juan and his wife that were living in the caravan, and our neighbors, and hopefully in extension also the neighborhood in the village. There was still some vegetable gardens left and right. So we are hoping that, if the funding continues as it does right now, it looks really good, that we'll have some extra money to also put into, awareness raising campaigns, working with the local camera, and just using this momentum of, that's why we call it the Miracle of Palmela, because it's very visible piece of land. It's this little strip of green in the middle of black, and villagers are talking about it. They're like, look at that. Why did that stay green? So it's a really, really good moment to pick up on and to try to raise awareness and tell more people about food forestry, syntropic farming systems, and just alternatives to planting, eucalyptus and pine trees and monocultures, any type of monoculture.
The disaster of monoculture. Okay, I'm sure my colleagues have questions here. Thank you for going through that. Sorry to put you through that again, but it seems quite important to share this with other people. So I do appreciate you having to sort of relive that and how difficult that must be. And I hope that that's, we can put that to good use, what we're creating and sharing tonight. And that you can see that there's a GoFundMe.com there. If you cut and paste that link, you're going to be able to help these folks and the neighbors and the general trend or momentum that Mareile was talking about there. Lee, John, Anna, any questions from you?
I'm only a short stone's throw from Palmela. I know the area quite well. I've walked in the hills a lot. It's devastating to see what's happened, and my thoughts go out to you. But it is the opportunity for a new start, and the land is now clear officially. So, do you have any plans? Are you already setting plans for the future of what you want to plant and what species of trees you're going to develop in your own land?
Yeah, I think there's two. I'll let Isabella speak from the food forest, the more scientific side, and just quickly say from our side, because a lot of the canyons got cleared now, but they're already coming back. We're already having little green shoots. Those little buggers, they're, as much as we appreciate the growth of nature, if we don't do something now, they're going to take over rather quickly. So a really good way to combat the canyons, and instead of going in with chemical fertilizers or something crazy that we don't want to do because we're in the watershed, is to plant lots of willows and poplars that, as we said earlier, grow quickly and easily, especially when they have water from cuttings. So that's what we're trying to implement on the edges of the land, quite rather quickly, to get this system going. And from the food forest side?
From our food forest side, it's funny that you're mentioning the cannas, because yesterday we found some chards sprouting in the middle of, the ashes, which was crazy.
They are insistent. They are insistent.
Yeah.
Little buggers, as you call them, Mareile.
So I think from our side now, what we're going to do is every plant, actually, even when it gets cut, if the root system hasn't been attained too much and there's still like some life in the soil, which is the case in our areas, they tend to grow back, right? So nature is resilient that way, and we have to be resilient for it as well, because that's our role really for nature. Our role is to be protectors of nature, right? And help it thrive. So from our perspective right now, we're going to go in and we're going to collect all the data and really see, if there are any species that have really been lost, because we had trees there that we call them climax trees, that are trees that are supposed to be in the system for about 200 years. And they are probably going to be, we want to make sure that their root system has been protected. Yeah. And if not, then we're going to write all of that down and we're going to go in with a new design on top of what we already have, because the natural capital or the life capital that we have built over a year in that area is really high. So that's the beauty of abundance, right? Because we have so many species there. The soil in itself is really rich now. So we're really excited to see, you know, if they say when life gives you lemons, make lemonade, right? So we're gonna try to make huge lemonade out of this and really try to go in with a better design and even see how that's going to go even faster.
Okay, so pioneer trees of willow and poplar. And the thing you were talking about there, the geekiness, I think that Mareile was talking about before. These sorts of measurements and research, what are you actually doing? Your soil samples, video, photography, you're documenting all of this, are you?
Yeah, exactly. So we have everything from the design stages all the way to, you know, soil samples and, you know, our design and like how fast that's growing, what is working, like the water that we've been using. So all of that has been documented, and we have projections as well. We have projections for the project that was implemented 1 year ago and how that should develop in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, up to 10 years. So we have all of that. But now we're going to have to readapt, right? Because we had it intended for one thing, and now we're going to have to go in and like rethink that and recalculate all of this.
It's amazing how you're adapting. So you'll do the measurements, you'll observe what's gone on and adapt and flex and pivot as necessary.
Yeah, you have to be, right? Nature is very resilient. Nature wants to regenerate. You know, so every apple that you eat, how many seeds do you have?
Oh, yeah.
So it wants to grow. It wants abundance. Nature is all about abundance, and we have to be with nature.
I love it, Isabella, how you are not beaten by this. And as Lee said, the ground is cleared, isn't it? What Fiona's asking on that basis, will the burnt debris act like biochar and feed the soil?
Exactly.
Is that it will do, will it?
Yeah, yes, exactly. So that's kind of exactly what we're looking for right now. It's how to use that biochar into the new design and really collect that data. So yeah, I'm not the most of the geeks of them all. I'm the spokesperson.
This is the one that people can actually understand.
Yeah, I'm the one that actually synthesizes information.
Oh, so important, so important. The interface, the translator of this, amazing. You're like the edge between permaculture zones, aren't you? With it to help translate what's going on. Love your can-do attitude, says Anne. Permaculture is all about finding solutions to grow abundance. May you be very successful. And Fiona, so lovely to see how resilient you are despite such a dreadful disaster. Send love to all of the families involved. While we're there, just a couple of fire safety notices. Louise saying we packed our grab bag last week just in case one of our neighbours has been fined for not removing large pine trees that were close to the only road into our village. The camera removed them. So excellent. Have your grab bags ready. We talked to Lee about this before. Have your grab bags ready in the event of fire. Be prepared. Stay alert to what's going on. And with people who own horses, it's some of the terrible situations with animals, but specifically with horses here. Fiona says, if anyone like these people and their fantastic project have horses in central Portugal, they may wish to join the equine evacuation group, which has been formed. Please post the link for that, Fiona. Any more questions? Anna, John, or Lee? Thank you, Lee, for that earlier question. I'm not surprised you asked that about what's coming next. Anna, have you got something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you had lots of ideas on what you'd like to do next with the land, or would you like to sort of keep it similar but restart it, or are you planning on trying something completely different and maybe having a bit of what was, but mostly sort of new projects, and what you hoping the future will create with the new land?
The lemonade, if you like, I guess, Anna. Yeah.
The lemonade is definitely in the planning. Thank you, Anna, for asking the question and giving me an opportunity to talk about the real purpose of this land, which we purchased in 2019. So my actual business project on the land is to build a regenerative wellness hotel that is specialized in Pilates. My background is in Pilates and in retreats, and I've been doing that for a decade. And I was looking for a spot in the world, and I found this beautiful piece of land in Palmela to build a 12-room retreat venue, boutique hotel that really connects, that builds these bridges between my kind of people or my kind of clients that want to go on a fancy, nice Pilates holiday. And yes, they appreciate an eco hotel or something, you know, organic garden, but
Sure.
go give them an opportunity to go a little bit deeper by actually seeing what can be done when businesses are run in a regenerative way. So not going for growth, profit, but community inclusion, co-creation, nature and human movement, all these aspects together. So of course we're gonna continue. My architects happened to be here when the fire, just after the fire, and their brains are already going like, we're building this big natural pool, and they're like, we have to find a way to use the pool to make sure that we can't count on the firemen, that we have a fire hose there, and how can we safely continue with the development of that project, but take the learnings from this event, which in a way, it might have been a blessing, because God forbid we would have been halfway in construction, or God forbid the hotel would be open already. So lots of learnings, and with the help of Regen Waves, we'll continue to collaborate. They're taking on the regenerative nature aspect. I'm really working on the human aspect, trying to get people to collaborate, understand what they can bring to any project in the world. So we get away from this, I'm the guest, I'm here to pay, and you're here to give me a nice service, but to find ways for people to take ownership of all the places where they are, especially in tourism.
Amazing. So, and how do you rate Portugal as a backdrop for that?
I think Portugal has a lot going for it. That's why we also ended up here. We were in Turkey 7 years before that, and in Hong Kong before that. So we've really lived in a lot of different places in the world. And Portugal has, there's the obvious aspect, I think, where you are in Portugal, and Lee is in Portugal. The weather is nice. But the people are amazing. There's a lot of encouragement for such kind of projects. I think there's a momentum going, and of course mixed with the popularity of Portugal as a tourist destination, I think the Portuguese government and Turismo Portugal really also see the opportunity they have to go in this direction, despite sustainable tourism being on everybody's top agenda, but also really working on making this work and not ending with a greenwash version of sustainability.
Yes, the 2.0 or 3.0 of environmentalism and the green movement that we so need right now. Fiona said, who is the little wildling who thinks there's too much chat and not enough attention being paid to the most beautiful part of the room? That would be Isla, right? Isla, special guest tonight on the show.
Yes.
Hello, little Isla. And Eric is in from Mexico. Look at this. Hi, all. Sorry for being late. You should rewatch this, Eric. Amazing project. Mareile and Isabella and Isla here. And partners Mathieu and Matthew as well. 2 Matthews, I think.
Yeah, we have a Matthias and a Mathieu, and they're both crazy. So.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being here. Let me put up the GoFundMe link again. Any more questions from the Get Out and Grow gang here before Mareile and Isabella go back to the land, I suspect, and other contacts? Go on, Lee.
Just one more quick one. After watching the news this last week, we've decided to rig up a system on our top terrace that's hopefully going to defend our house in future if we ever get unlucky enough to be in your situation. We've been out and bought a little pump from the pool, and we're laying up agricultural sprinklers on the top platform that are going to spray over the house. Hoping to be able to shift 25,000 litres that's in the pool in about 3 hours using a pump system, or 4 hours. When you rebuild, you're going to plan in a sprinkler system that's going to protect your property as well? Or is that not part of your plan at the moment?
We have to see. It's definitely going to be a talking point now, a more serious one. Building a hotel that is official already has a certain set requirements that we need to adhere to anyways. But of course, it's not even so much just going for the water and the sprinkler system. It's really thinking also holistically, what kind of materials are the fire retardant materials, in not just by statistic, not just by EU standards, so you get your certificate and your license, but what other ways can we implement in architecture in general in the world to be more proactive and more preventive for natural disasters of any kind, well, man-made disasters of any kind. I think that's something that really needs to be looked at in the future more and more, going beyond the obvious and saying what else, just like we got away from just installing air cons everywhere, but architects are started saying, okay, before we go for the air cons, how can we actually design a building that it shelters from the sun at the right time of the season as much as possible. So these kind of thoughts for sure are going to be a big part of the process now. And together with our Portuguese partners, project managers, architects, more things to think about.
Absolutely. And the name of that project will be Calm Portugal, will it? Calma Portugal.
Calm Portugal is the website for my Pilates hotel.
And are you working with Chartan on the architect?
No.
Can we give a shout out to your architects who are obviously very advanced in their thinking?
Well, you can give a shout out to my brother, who's the architect. So I'm a lucky one. I have my German architect at hand, but our Portuguese counterpart is Ana Timoteo, and I will find you her web address so you can post it. Just give me a second.
Thank you so much. Well, we wish you the absolute best of luck in your restoration and renovation, so you can get back to the business of regeneration and look forward to talking to you again in the future. Mareile, thank you so much for being here. Please give our love and thanks to Isabella and to Isla as well, and to Matty and Mathieu as well in the background there. And all the best to you. And hopefully that's helped a little bit with the fundraising.
Yeah, thank you so much. I don't know what to say. It's been fantastic. I don't even know where and how you found about us, but it was a great opportunity. Thanks for reaching out so much.
Look forward to speaking to you again another time. Ciao. All right, all the best. Adios. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Well done, everybody. Great show tonight, and lots of luck and best wishes to the Miracle of Palmela, who were with us earlier on this evening. And we'll see you again next Monday. Great job. Thanks, Anna. Thanks, John. Thank you, Lee. See you again next week. Ciao.